All right, we have to give credit to the Nigerian Football Federation, the media department, for the Super Eagles clips that we have been using. And now let us talk to Kres Harrington from our partner station, the DW in Berlin, for the updates. Yes, it's time for the updates as far as the Bundesliga is concerned. Kres, it's good to see you. And this is another time and moment to connect and talk the Bundesliga, even though in Nigeria we're talking the Super Eagles and the World Cup qualifiers. But, let's take it from here. We saw Germany in the international break. Yes, they took on Italy. And that was in the Nations League. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, that's right. Now, in this fixture, Germany had a healthy lead after winning the first match 2-0. It was pretty convincing. Their second match started the same way. It was all Germany. I look at the scoreline. It was 3-0 in Germany's advantage. There was a very bad Italy side in that first half. Joshua Kimmich, led the way. He's been brilliant, at midfield, along with Tim Kleindienst, as well as Jamal Musiala, so then just with those three names, you have 2 out of 3 are Bayern Munich players. A handful of Bayern Munich players have contributed to the German national team. It's always been the case, in recent years, their core players seem to be all Bayern teammates. And it was what we saw from Joshua Kimmich. He was fantastic. Actually, his best performance, 2 assists and a goal, his best performance, I think, since 2017. And he's just on the cusp of making his 100th outing, for Germany. So it means a lot. And it just really speaks to the volume and the leadership he provides, to Germany. But in this particular fixture, Italy bounced back. They were able to level the score, which was shocking. But just the work that Germany had put in the first leg of the match in the Nations League, they got over the hump, and then they'll meet Portugal in the next round. So it's quite interesting to see, and it's a good boost, a good positive effort, because there's a new coach, Julian Nagelsmann, having the reins for Germany, trying to start a new chapter under his reign, because Germany's had disappointing showings in major tournaments in recent years, and he's trying to right those wrongs.
Mm-hmm. And Germany coach Julian Nagelsmann declared the number 1 goalkeeper, and he says he's not focused on the past.
Yeah, Julian Nagelsmann offered Marc-Andre ter Stegen the number 1 spot if he does recoup and he's healthy in time. Maybe we see him in the UEFA Nations League semifinals versus Portugal when they play in Munich in June. Maybe he features there, but nonetheless, Nagelsmann believes that he's put in the work to deserve the number 1 spot playing at a major tournament, so the World Cup looks to be his unless injury dictates otherwise. Now, in terms of what Julian Nagelsmann, had to say, he's just really talking about the history that Germany and Italy had. He spoke to that issue because they've met several times in knockout stages of major tournaments, and Germany progressed just once from those ties. The most heartbreaking defeat was the 2006 World Cup. Nagelsmann referenced that defeat, when he was talking about remembering 2006, but of course, he's not happy Germany lost, but he said he's not focused on the past. It's more important to write our own history. I think those words speak volumes, considering, what he's managed to do. He has stoked the fire of support and some buzz around the club. Considering their progression in the Nations League, Germany's hosting, both the semifinals and the finals. So it looks like home field advantage if Germany do manage to beat Portugal, who they meet next. But all in all, I do think it's good for Germany. Obviously with the international break, there's not much Bundesliga action to talk about, but it is what it is. Germany seems to be doing well. Italy proved to be tough late, but it was too little too late.
Okay, back to the Bundesliga, Chris. What fixtures stand out in the next match day?
Well, I mentioned in the past, in past conversations, it's tight when it comes down to European qualification. There's 6 points separating the first 2 teams, but then when you look at Mainz, Frankfurt, and the other teams, Frankfurt are 4th, but tied on points with Mainz, who are on 45 points. Frankfurt hosts Stuttgart. That could be an interesting matchup. and Dortmund host Mainz. That can also be an interesting matchup considering where they are on points. You know, Mainz is chasing history of being the first time they've ever qualified for the Champions League if they manage to keep, you know, on with the same type of momentum. But Dortmund have a lot of improving to do, so it's, you know, I think Dortmund being back at home is a positive and a helpful nudge in the right direction because Dortmund are right now in the middle of the mix. And they actually trail Mainz by 10 points, you know, when you talk about the numbers. So that could be interesting as well. But those two matches, to me, stand out.
What else hit your radar, Kres?
Well, yeah, Bayer Leverkusen, who are currently second in the standings. They have two of their players, Victor Boniface and Nathan Tella, are representing Nigeria. Many in Germany have been donning their Nigeria kits as well in studios, I see. And, you know, the reality is their 2026 World Cup qualification campaign is back on track after they defeated Rwanda. Victor Osimhen, a former Bundesliga player now, you know, electrifying in other domestic leagues. The Super Eagles, you know, let's see what happens with Victor Boniface and Tella, see if they can represent and bring some sort of positivity back to the Bundesliga, because in the past there have been criticism of players who choose to represent country in crucial times during the seasons and so forth. They might miss time, you know, and hopefully, you know, with success, you know, some of the Bundesliga coaches that have spoken negatively about those situations and those decisions, basically, you know, they understand the importance of this competition. And Nigeria has a handful of Bundesliga players that represent and have represented in the past, and I just wanted to speak on that. That's what hit my radar.
All right, thank you very much. Of course, you can see we are all ready to go to the stadium and support the Super Eagles of Nigeria to win that game against the Warriors of Zimbabwe. It's a World Cup qualifying game, very big, huge and massive in Nigeria at the Godswill Akpabio Stadium in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, South Nigeria. That is where everyone will be at this minute, and later today it will be a field stadium, and we will be hoping and praying for Nigeria to win.
Dankeschön und auf Wiedersehen.
All right, thank you very much, Kres. Thank you for your time. All right, and then moving away from the Bundesliga, let's still talk some football, and it's all about what is going around the world, international break, national team football.